Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining our OneCloudX NetSuite user group today. I see there's a few people that have joined us today, so I really appreciate your time this morning, or in our case, afternoon, being midday. We'll still wait a couple minutes for others to join, and then we'll kick off proceedings. So let's just wait another minute or two, and then we'll go from there. So far, we've got in total 12 people out of a total, I think, 25 that are registered. So we've got a great turnout today, which is amazing. So thank you for that. So let's just hold on a couple of minutes. All right, the number hasn't changed for the last minute. Oh, now it has. All right, so we've got good 14 people. I think in the meantime we can start, considering we're all, short of time. So thank you very much for attending. This is a Demio environment that we're using. So just some housekeeping elements. At the top right-hand corner, you've got a chat. So please, if you have any questions, please add it to the chat, whether they're personal chats to me or public chats for everyone to see. Preferably, if you can do public, that would be great. And I will ask the questions to Cheryl, or I'll answer it myself as we go. So please ask any questions as you like as we're going through. If something's not clear, please let us know. And then you also notice right next to the chat, there is a little arrow that goes to the right-hand side. If you want to maximize your screen, just click on that. Otherwise, there are two arrows that are pointing somewhat diagonally towards each other if you'd like to therefore toggle between a full screen and not full screen. So that's a bit of housekeeping. We have a wide range of individuals, all within the NetSuite customer base, that are a mixture of our clients predominantly and a few others that aren't, that are here today. The different roles that we've got who have joined come from CFO individuals, finance controller individuals, people who are NetSuite administrators, as well as people in the IT space. So we've got a well-rounded group of individuals and roles in the organization. So we'll make sure that when we do walk through the environment, that every one of you is going to get something out of today, which is our mandate and what we hope to achieve. So without any further to do, I'll hand over to Cheryl to kick off proceedings and introduce herself and get us going. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Robert. And good afternoon, everyone. Let me just go ahead and share my screen so we can go ahead and jump into the PowerPoint presentation. So, Robert, I just need you to confirm that you can see my screen. Just want to make sure everything is good from your end. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So let's just go ahead and start off, right? So our topic for today is NetSuite Suite Analytics. And if you think about it, Suite Analytics basically is a whole encompassing module that actually covers not just reporting, but other tools within NetSuite as well. But our primary focus for today really is our Save Search Reporting and Analytics workbook. So just a little bit of disclaimer and our safe harbor statement. If you've been with NetSuite for many years, I would think that you are probably familiar with this. But some of the information that you'll be hearing today really is more of a general product direction, really not a commitment. So as we talk about additional product features that are upcoming, just bear in mind that obviously, as what I've said, is a general product direction. So before we start off with the actual session, let me just introduce myself. Again, my name is Cheryl Durante. I'm a senior solution consultant from Oracle NetSuite, and I work primarily in the financials, wholesale distribution, and manufacturing verticals. And I have over 10 years of NetSuite experience. I've started way back in 2008. So when NetSuite was pretty much, starting, and I've seen the product grow tremendously in the last 10 years. And I was one of their support engineers. And then I've started with implementation consulting, where I have implemented NetSuite across ANZ, and I'm doing solution consulting for Oracle. Part of that, I'm also a certified Suite Analytics user, as well as certified administrator. Prior to joining NetSuite, I've also supported other software applications in the past. So if you still remember the good old MSN right there, I worked with Microsoft for the first few parts or first few years of my career. And then I've supported Sugar CRM, Maya before coming back to NetSuite. And for all of you who don't actually know me, I'm actually based in Auckland, New Zealand. So on a good day, you would probably see me having a good day hike. And here's my friend George right there. So really cute, fluffy friend. So our session goal for today. So again, as what I mentioned, we'll be covering the different analytic products in NetSuite. And the goal of this really is just to make sure that we are able to create awareness for the purposes business value of what the Suite Analytics Workbook feature is. And we want to make sure that everyone leaves the session being really comfortable with a base foundation to be able to further your learning and knowledge and to understand where you will find information on Suite Analytics Workbook. So for the program agenda, again, we'll start off with some background on what the differences is between Safe Search, Report, and Suite Analytics Workbook. And then we'll deep dive into the workbook feature, so how we actually get access to it, what permissions are required, sample use cases where and when to use it, and then we'll go through a live demonstration. And then I'll discuss a little bit more about some feature limitations and references. And then again, as what I mentioned, we'll cover an upcoming feature, which is what we call NetSuite Suite Analytics Warehouse Beta. So that's really a mouthful right there. Really lots of things to cover today. So let's jump into it. So again, if you've been with NetSuite for many years, or if you're new to NetSuite, you'll probably have heard of Save Searches, right? You've heard of financial reporting. So we have Financial Report Builder. In reality, NetSuite really does have a robust reporting capabilities. And the product really is continuously being developed. And so one of the things that we have in here is we have our out-of-the-box reporting. So as part of our Suite Success edition, we have over 200, out-of-the-box report that you can start off with. And then in NetSuite, the most commonly used, I would say, would be Save Searches, where you can run and pull up information in the database. And then we have our new feature, Suite Analytics Workbook. So it's just a little bit of comparison around these three. So again, as what I've mentioned, Save Search is probably the most commonly used from all of these other tools. And then just comparison here is that Save Search supports highlighting. So I'm not going to go through each and every one of these. Most of you are probably already familiar with it, but just to highlight that, yes, supports highlighting. This is a capability in a Save Search that wouldn't really have that specific functionality in a report. And so in terms of what we can do in a Save Search as well is that it actually helps answer the what. And then it also supports advanced SQL code validation or SQL formula. And we already know about that. But one limitation on a Save Search is that if you're like me, I kind of like to drill down into, sub-levels, for example. But Save Search proves to be very challenging when you're doing that because on a Save Search, it only allows you to go one level deep. So if you're on, let's say, a transaction Save Search, and if you want to drill down into a customer, you can. But if you want to drill down even further, maybe like pull up a sample, like a contact or primary contact underneath, sometimes that can prove to be an issue. And we all know that Save Search obviously has its limitation. If we go to the NetSuite report, so it's very good, especially around financial reports. So we have heaps of reports already available for you. One of the challenges in the report, and obviously this is based on my experience as well as I'm customizing reports, this actually support only a handful of predefined formula. So if you want to run, let's say, complex calculation, you really can't do that because when you go to a report and you want to add a formula, it gives you predefined lists like, sum, difference, percentage, and you're probably familiar with this. So because of that, we know that our customers are growing. Our customers are really getting, all the knowledge that they needed. They wanted more in terms of reporting. And so NetSuite creates or developed what we call Analytics Workbook. So it gives you the ability to run multiple level joins. So this is, I would say, pretty new in terms of the functionality because this is something that all of our customers have been looking for many years. And so again, apart from that, it also provides you with data visualization. So you can create different pivot tables, you can different charts, and it allows you to run your data set and use that across different multiple workbooks, which allows you to compare, or not really compare, but combine two different data sets or two different data set tables. Apart from that, you can now easily reassign workbook. So if you're an administrator, you'll find that when, for example, you have employees that have created many reports or saved searches in NetSuite, and suddenly they left the company, you'll end up having to manually go to each saved search and then reassign it to another user. And that obviously is very tedious and time consuming. But with the Suite Analytics workbook, we can easily reassign workbooks and across different users. And I'll show you that during the demonstration. So just a little bit of a summary in here, what obviously analytics can do, we can do so much more. So in here, both can be scheduled. Unfortunately, at the moment, workbook cannot be scheduled, not yet. Though obviously this has been, this was actually launched 2019.1, so it's been 2 years. There's still lots of things that are being included as part of the functionality, so things are being enhanced. But obviously you'll see that can be emailed. Workbooks, we can't do that yet. But in terms of the output, we can support multi-level joins. You can run pivot reports, charts, and you can use your analytics data source, which is really good. So just for Suite Analytics Workbook. Now, before we jump into the actual demonstration, let me just give you a little bit of a background, because you'll probably be hearing me saying dataset workbook. What really is it, right? So think of dataset as your source table. I just want to keep it simple as that, because really that's what it is. So you prepare your dataset, very similar to when you're creating your saved search. So the first time you create your saved search, Seth will ask you what type of record do you want to create, right? And so you have a full list of the different types of record in NetSuite. And most often, you'll probably select, let's say, customer or transaction, and that is your base table, right? So very similar to that. So when we create our analytics workbook, the first thing that NetSuite will ask you to do is create your dataset, because we want to understand where you want to pull that information from. And then you create your workbook. So workbook really is just visualization, you know, like it's really just a component of how you would want to have that report in an output that is easily digestible for the user. So I'll keep it short and simple as that. Hopefully that gives you an idea. So as I talk and go through the demo, you'll understand what I mean by dataset and workbook. So how do we enable the feature? So again, this is already pre-enabled for all new customers, right? But if you've been with NetSuite before 2019, then obviously you probably won't have that feature enabled. So what you have to do is just go to Setup Company Enable Feature, make sure that you have that Suite Analytics Workbook enabled in the account. Now, once you have done that, you'll see that you'll have that Analytics tab in there. And so administrator will always have that, because administrator doesn't have any restriction in terms of what they can see and access in the account. But bearing in mind that we also have what we call an analytics administrator. So this is a permission that you provide to your users. So not everyone can have access to it right away unless you actually give them this permission. So very simple. It basically just allows the analytics administrator to manage, edit, and delete any workbook from any user. They can also define audience for standard workbook, and also allows change ownership for any workbook. So great example of what I have mentioned earlier, when somebody from the company resigns, for example, you can easily reassign it. So normally an analytics administrator will be able to do that. So you just give them that permission. So just in terms of when and where we can use this, just sample use cases. So in NetSuite, for the wholesale distribution and manufacturing verticals or industries, NetSuite already provides you with standard data set. So in this example, we have our warehouse inventory data set. So we have 3 that are already predefined or pre-configured for you, and you can start off using this. But one example workbook chart that I have created is sales order to fulfill by customer. So you can easily navigate through all of their different customers, and you can see how many orders you have to fulfill for them for any point in time. So you can actually export this and put it on your dashboard, and that basically allows your sales manager or maybe warehouse manager to have that information right in front of them when they log in. And then in terms of finance, we can also provide data set tables or workbook tables in your dashboard. So here's an example of an AP cash outgoing report. Here's an like a sample pivot table that we've created from Analytics Workbook. So you can have your different entities, for example, the total amount. You can have week 1, week 2 comparison. So you can really drill down into that as opposed to when you're creating a save search or a financial report. Analytics Workbook gives you so much flexibility in terms of that. So now let's jump into our demonstration, right? And again, before I jump into NetSuite, I just wanted to set the expectation for everyone that this demonstration is not designed to make you an expert. It's really just more of a high level of overview of the product because you only have, as what you know, 15 minutes demo time, so we're really tight in terms of timeline. But hopefully, at the end of the session, you'll have time to play around your account and start creating your own workbooks. So let's go ahead and jump into NetSuite. So hopefully I can just, okay. Hopefully I can just click that like that, play that. Oops, sorry. I think I might have just clicked something else. Let's go to NetSuite. Okay. A little bit of technical difficulty right there, but hopefully you can see my NetSuite screen now. And I assume you can, right? Obviously I can't hear any of you.
Yep.
But thank you, Robert. Thank you, Robert. So basically, once you've logged into NetSuite, and just you can see I'm logged in as the administrator. Once you log into NetSuite, you'll have that Analytics tab in there. So if we go to Analytics tab, let's go ahead and click on that. There are actually certain things that you can see and do on your Analytics page. So from here, I can see my workbooks and my data set. From here, I can easily create my new workbook. I can also mark something as my favorite. So as you notice from here, I can put a star on that, and then that will automatically come up on my favorite workbooks. One thing you can do in here as well is that because as your users start creating workbooks, this list would be very long. And so it's very hard to see, right? If you already have like hundreds and hundreds of reports in there. So normally you would be using your search bar here and just type in sales, and then NetSuite will automatically just filter the list for you, like global search, for example. So I'll probably just put it back in there. So once you have done that, you can see that I have a list of all my workbooks. I can also filter this down to all those workbooks that have been shared with me. So if I have other users who have shared their workbooks over to me, I can pull that up very easily. I can see any templates that NetSuite already provides. So I can see that I can start off all of these workbook without having to create from scratch. And normally that's the way to go because you don't really want to reinvent the wheel. So it has been created for a reason. So just make sure that you start off with all of the predefined templates, so it'll make things easier for you. So let's just go back to my list of all my workbooks. And one thing that I wanted to show from here is how easy it actually is to modify information from the workbook. So you'll notice from here that I can easily manage the description. I don't have to go to the actual workbook itself. And based on the use case that I was explaining earlier, I can automatically reassign this to a different user. So an administrator would really love this because you don't have to go to each of the individual workbooks. If someone has left, I can easily just go back here and just reassign it to whoever I think would be best. So for example, maybe a sales manager. And then I can also delete my workbook. So because I'm an administrator, I have that capability to delete a workbook. If I share the workbook to someone else, so let's say I'll just click on share. Standard NetSuite allows you to share it by roles. I can also share it by employees. If you want a report or a workbook to be shared across just a specific person, you can do that. So very easy, you just click on role. I can select the role in here, just add, and then I can click on share. So very easy. I think that's pretty much self-explanatory. So once we have done that, let's now go into our data set. So on the data set, very similar page, right? So it looks exactly the same, but as what I've mentioned, NetSuite already provides you with standard data set that you can also start off with. So I can click on templates, and that will just give me all of these available data set for me. So one is transaction data set, probably most commonly used, I would say. Anything for accounts payable, purchases, AR, transaction detail, obviously warehouse and inventory. You have that option from there. And then what you actually just need to do from here is just open that data set, and then you can use that for your workbook. So what I'll do is I'll just go direct into a workbook. Okay, I'm not going to create a workbook from scratch. I'm not going to bore you with the full details of that, but I'll just start off with an already pre-created workbook. So let's go ahead and pull up our sales order workbook. And let's wait until it comes up. It's actually a little bit cold today in New Zealand, so forgive me. I'm having a little bit of a sniffle. So hopefully you're not feeling really cold today in Australia. All right. So once we've gone through our data set, notice that from here, I can pull up my data set directly from that link, and then that will pull up a page very similar to a Save Search. So from here, I can see my criteria. I can see the columns that I have added. So I think this sounds really familiar, right? So as you're creating your Save Search, it's pretty much the same concept. So if I wanted to filter my criteria or filter the result, I have the capability. It's really just drag and drop. So I can drag and drop things from here, from currency, I can drag and drop there. If I want to use expression, for example, and I always use that when I'm running or creating my reports, you can click on add new group of criteria from here. And then you can add in additional criteria. So for example, this data set is pulling up all of my sales orders for last year because I wanted to run some comparison for this year, for example. But I wanted to just filter it based on my sales rep. So sales reps under me. So I can then select sales rep, drag and drop, and then I can just select which is sales rep. So maybe I'll just select Will Clark as one of my sales rep. I can click on apply, and that NetSuite will automatically run through the update of that. As you'll notice, you see that bar in there that it's moving. It's trying to update as you go along. If I want to add another set of criteria, I can do that as well from here. And then let's say I only wanted to pull up sales order that are already built as an example. I can maybe just select status and then I can drop it from here as well. But I'm not going to do that now. But the idea in here is that you're also able to run expression. So if I click on end or expression, you can use that to be able to filter your results. So I'm not going to do that now. I'll probably just remove that criteria. So very easy to remove things as well. So you see there's an icon. So just click on that and then remove that from the option because I'm not going to do it. I'm pretty happy with my criteria. So apart from the criteria, when you already have the columns in here, anything that is marked in blue are the columns available in your workbook. And so what I'll do is I can actually move things around a little bit. So let's say, for example, I want the sales order status from here. As what you'll notice, easily, just drag and drop. You can move things around. If I want to remove some information from here, maybe like the billing country, I'll just remove the column. I can go ahead and undo that. If I've made a mistake, for example, I accidentally removed something, I can just click on undo, and that will just pull it back up easily. So as what you probably know, Save Search or Report doesn't have that undo capability, but this workbook functionality has that. So even though if, for example, for some reason, I'm very stupid, I just removed all columns and I was like, oh my God, what do I do now? I can easily just click on that undo button and then NetSuite will automatically put it back for you. So it really just gives you that, flexibility and capability to run your workbooks and data sets very easily without having to worry that, if you made something or some mistake, you can't go back to it. And then one thing that I also wanted to show from here is that when we set up our data set, we are able to move things around as what I've already shown you. We can see the different criteria. Now what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and click on save. So I'm pretty happy with the columns that I have. Again, you can always drill down into any of these. And as you notice, if I, let's say, go to, let's say, my entity. So going back to my use case, I wanted to try to understand what my total sales per region are. And so I know that whoever is in the top level, for example, we can focus on the other regions that are not really high in sales. And so our marketing team can focus more on that. So in this scenario, you can see that I have my created by customer. I'm probably not going to do, I'll go to entity. I can go to my entity customer. And then from the entity level, I can go deeper into, let's say, contacts. I can go to that contacts. I can expand that. And as you'll notice, as I go down deeper into the multi-level join, I have that capability to go into things like if I'm looking for, let's say, marketing events specific for this contact, what have we sent them? And a newsletter, for example, I can go to the event option from here or event sublevel. And yeah, I can go deeper into things. So I can look at each individual attendee if I wanted to add that in my report, and then company information again. So you see, there's just really unlimited custom joins as you can see from here. So that's really one of the power of the analytics workbook. So once we're happy with our data set, I can go ahead and just save that. I'm not going to make any more changes. Keep it simple. And then I can go ahead and apply this to my workbook, right? So we already have our data set, we already have our table. Now we set up our pivot tables and charts. So before I jump into the sales by customer, let me just show you what actually happens when you create one from scratch. So from here, you'll see that I have options on what I wanted to generate. So I can generate a table, I can generate a pivot report, or maybe a chart. So it depends on your requirement. It depends really on what you're trying to accomplish in terms of your report. So in this example, I just wanted to run a pivot report, right? But one thing to be mindful of, and it's a very good tool, is that we now have the capability to run combined data set. So in here, I can see my data set, which is the one that we've created. And then I also have that connect data set from here. So what that means is you have two different tables in NetSuite, data set for transaction, maybe data set for maybe a customer, for example. And NetSuite now allows you to connect both of them to have one visualization. And so it basically allows you to run that comparative view for different data sets. So if I click on connect data set, notice that I can select another data set from here. So depending on what I wanted to do, and I can create a new data set, and that will then link that correct to my workbook. But I'm not going to do that now. Let's keep it simple. But basically, that's one of the power of the analytics workbook. It allows you to do that. Now let's go back to our sample. I'll just delete that tab, and I'll go back to my sales by customer. So from the sales by customer, you can see that I have my rows, I have my columns, I have my transaction amount and measure. And then from here, I can actually basically just select which row you would like. So because then here I want my customer, so it's highlighted. I can drag and drop it into there. And my use case, as what I've mentioned, is I wanted to know the total sales per region. So I have added the columns as state and province, and NetSuite automatically pulls up that for me. And then I actually have my transaction amount as well. So I can see that grand total for each of the state and province. Now, there are quite a few things that you can do from here. So for example, I can select that icon and I can tell NetSuite to just maybe pull up, the top 10 customers. I can do that. If I want to have that multi-column hierarchy, it allows you to have that because, we have parent and child relationship. So you can have that in here. So if you have, sub customers underneath, NetSuite will pull that up for you. If I go to my columns, I can then again sort this by column. I can maybe I wanted to have just the top 10, state and province. NetSuite will automatically update. And then from here, I can also run my measure. So I can see my transaction amount. You can run different summary type for your amount. So any numerical value in NetSuite will have this option. So you can either sum, average, count, min, max, similar to a save search, I would say. And then the good thing about this is I can also run calculated measure. So this is a new feature that came up in 2021.1, probably just a few months ago. But what it allows you to do is to add basic mathematical equation as part of your workbook, right? So in here, in this example, you can see that it already has an instruction from here. So I can see what I actually need to do. So it's just press Control Space to display all options. So this calculated measure only works for fields that are numerical strings. So for example, I can select amount. I'll probably just put in a name before we start up. So maybe just like sample formula. I can select amount. I can drag and drop in here. And that becomes your space area where you can put in your formula. And then if I want to add that to something else, it says just Control Space. And then it comes up with a list of operations available for you. So you can see that from here. So if I just wanted to maybe I'll just add, right? And then I can select another one from here, maybe amount net transaction. I can, for some reason, I don't know why it doesn't allow me. Oh, probably it's because, oh, there you go. So I can do that. And then I can add another, maybe operator here, maybe just another plus from there. And that then becomes your workspace for the formula. So if I do this, basically what NetSuite does as well, apart from obviously being able to run your calculation, it runs validation as you're working on it. So as you'll notice from here, what says definition is not valid, and it's because there's some incorrect data in here. So that basically allows you to run validation all at the same time. So the good thing about it is you don't have to actually go to preview mode, just like you would do in a saved search. So normally in a saved search, you put in this very nice, SQL code, case when then scenario or code, and then you've done a preview, and then it just generates unexpected error. And it happens all the time, right? Because of just one missing code in here. And so in here, it just allows you to run that validation as you're entering it. So I'll just go ahead and cancel that. So just bear in mind that, as what I've mentioned, this only supports basic mathematical operations. So let's like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. But at least it gives you that capability if you need to run through that. So let me go ahead and cancel that, right? And then if you already have that specific columns that you wanted to highlight, so highlighting, as what I've mentioned, we can do that in a saved search, but we can also do this in a workbook. It's quite different in terms of the functionality, but let me show you what I mean. So under transaction amount, I can go to conditional formatting, and I can click on manage conditional formatting. So from here, I can say, okay, I just wanted to highlight those that are above $100,000 because I'm really interested in that. So I can set greater or equal to 100,000. Hopefully I write it up correctly. And then you can just select the highlighting color that you'd like. So maybe I just want this in yellow, right? And you can add as many as you like. So you can have as many, criteria if you wanted to. So you can have different colors for different things. So depending on what is important to you, I can go ahead and just close that. I'm not going to do that now. I can go ahead and click on apply. And then as you make changes to your workbook, one thing to be mindful of is that you actually have to click on this refresh icon in here. So NetSuite will pull up the most recent information for you. And so I can go ahead and click OK. I can refresh that workbook. And then that's the time that NetSuite will update the information for you. So again, as compared to a saved search, I'd rather just click on that refresh icon instead of doing a preview. So these are just really working on one page without having to leave that specific, page that I'm currently active on. So notice that I already have that formatting highlighting in there. But one thing to note is that in terms of highlighting, there's a limitation to that right now, that it only highlights the actual column or field, not like in a saved search where you can highlight a whole row. Like for example, in here, if I hover my mouse, it basically highlights a table, but not on the actual result itself. So as I hover my mouse, you can see the changes, right? On a saved search, you can highlight the whole row like this. Like if you want to highlight who's the customers over and above $100,000, you can do that. But in analytics workbook, it only highlights specific numerical measure. Okay, so that basically allows you to run that highlighting capability. And then again, I can run through different top 10. So if I just wanted to filter this out, I wanted my top 10 customer. NetSuite will allow you to sort it. And then as you narrow down your result, obviously you can automatically see that result from here. So that's very nice and cool. I have capability also to maybe hide these panels. So I need more space. So if you have reports that you wanted to run through and you have multiple different columns, you're running out of space, you can always do this from here. You can expand that out again if you wanted to. And then there's also a few things from here that is similar to Excel functionality that you can see. So I have that option from here to freeze column header. You can do row headers as well. And yeah, I can disable column highlighting if you wanted to. From here, you can also automatically display subtotal and grand total. So you have quite a few options from there. But what's really missing from here, as what I mentioned, is the capability to export this to CSV, for example, as what you would normally do on Save, Search, and Report. So again, as what I've mentioned, that is one of the enhancement that NetSuite is working on at the moment. But obviously, we still have, few. We actually have another release upcoming for 2021.2. So hopefully that gets included as part of that. But once we have done that, so we're quite okay with our layout, we're okay with the actual output that we're trying to do, we can then also click on this icon, and then you can always clear your cache. So because when you're running your workbooks, sometimes you might be so engrossed with the work, but you're working on it for an hour already, but there are some transactions that other users have entered into the account, right? So sometimes you just want to clear your cache, refresh the table to make sure that you always get the most recent value in there. So once we are okay with the actual workbook itself, we're actually happy with our pivot, we can then create our sales by customer chart. So if we go to our chart option from here, we have different level or different available options for us. So we have column chart from here, we have bar chart. So it depends on what output you would like, right? And then similarly to the pivot table, we just put in our X and Y axis. So we have customers, so I can see that customer underneath. And then we can also set series depending on the comparative view that you'd like. So in this scenario, I wanted to have a comparative view for the year and then for each month. So in here, I have that, this is the yearly or the amount for the year, sorry, for the month, and then I have the one for the year. And then you can add in more information from here if you wanted to. So I can add in maybe year or month or day. You can also pull up a top 10 date per month. So kind of few other options available for us. If you, let's say, wanted to add additional things in here, so let's say I wanted maybe per day, I can do that. As you notice, as I enter and make changes, NetSuite asks me to refresh the changes. So I can click on OK. I can go ahead and refresh that, and then NetSuite will just pull up that specific value for you. So if I have that capability, so you see that it automatically changes the view for me. One thing that when I presented this previously, one of the questions came up was, can I change the color of the graph, for example? Then I want this in red and I want this in green. The short answer to that now is no, we can't change any of the color scheme as of the moment. So whatever is the NetSuite default, it is what it is for now. But obviously, there are some enhancement that has been passed on over to our development team. So it's something that they can look into. But at the moment, we can't change the color. So whatever is the default, that pretty much is about it. So I'll just go ahead and put it back to our to comparative view. And I'll refresh that. And again, another thing that we can do in this chart table is that we can also easily modify the title. So one of this is, because normally what happens is I just want this to make sure that I can pretty much, find it easily. So I can maybe just put in my initials as an example. I can just click out of it, and then under properties, you can put some more information in here, like the title or subtitle, what the naming column convention would be. So you have that capability to actually do that from the report. And then one thing that you can also do, so obviously the graphical output could also be shared. Let's say if you want to use it in your PowerPoint presentation, maybe you need to present to the board or the executive team, you have the capability to actually export this chart to SVG file. So scalable vector graphic file. So it's really just an image. So you can include that into your PowerPoint show. You can also print this if you wanted to, but so far those are the only output or export capability I would say that we can do as of the moment. So again, from here, if I click on this icon, you have the clear cache capability as what I've shown you earlier as well. So since I'm actually very happy with this total sales by customers, exactly what I want, the next thing that I wanted to do maybe is I'll just go ahead and pull it up in my dashboard. I wanted to show this in my dashboard. So I can go ahead and save this workbook. So again, I've shown you the data set, how we can set that up, the workbook, and now it's time to publish this to our dashboard. And again, you can share this workbook to other users by clicking on that share icon in there. So workbook has been saved. Now I can go back to my home dashboard. And what I wanted to do really is just put it on my dashboard. I can display it in one of my portlets. So you just click on personalized. I can click on analytics. And this is where you would just click on setup. And from here, I can select the type. So because I've put in my initial in there, just to make it easier, because sometimes if you really have a long list, sometimes it's good to have some sort of like a format that your users would use. And most often it's just initials depending on what you wanted to use, right? So as I type in my initials in there, because that's what I type in, I can find my sales by customer chart. I can select that. You have the option to select what type of output you would like, whether short, medium, or tall. I'll keep it as medium and I can save that. So from the analytics portlet, that's where we'll just refresh the information and that will then present you the workbook that we have created. So as you notice, that exactly is what from my workbook is. If I wanted to edit and go back to my workbook, again, very similar to any of the portlets in NetSuite, you can go ahead and open in workbook. I can update by clicking on setup, and I can also change this to a different chart. I haven't really played around this or try to change it, but if I wanted to change it a little bit, I think it probably look the same. I hope it changes a little bit, but you have that, options from there. So it just depends on how you wanted to pull it up. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how you can, save and share your workbook, how you can create your own workbook. So let me just go to my PowerPoint presentation, right? And we've done through the demonstration. So today what I actually have shown you is how we can leverage the analytics overview page. So what things you can do, you can, reassign workbook, you can delete workbooks or share your workbooks. I've shown you how we can create a new data set and a new workbook in NetSuite. How we can add pivots and charts and how we can save and share workbook. So I will probably just pause a little bit from there and just ask if there are any questions from the team or from any of the audience before I go to the known issues and limitation. Robert, anything in the chat window now? Nope.
Are we recording the session? And the answer is yes. So we'll share the recording afterwards, but that's the only one. So
okay.
You seem to be asking every question. Oh, here we go. One from Simon.
Okay, Simon, go ahead.
I have some roles in NetSuite where users don't have access to analytics.
So the question is?
The question is, how do you kind of, their role has the analytics admin, but they don't see it. So they seem to have an issue with accessing the analytics.
Okay, I get it. Okay. So what you're saying is that they have, you have already provided them an access to the analytics administrator permission. So you have added that into their role. But then when they log into their account, they can't see the analytics tab or menu at the top. I guess one of the things that you can try to do, and it's just because maybe, I'm not sure if there's an issue or a bug that has been reported to NetSuite around this. I can probably have a look and take that offline. But I guess it's maybe because of the way that the menus are created. So normally when you're an administrator, you are using your classic interface. I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with that. But if you go to home, set preferences in your individual preference, there's a use classic interface settings in there. If you enable that and maybe try to log into that user's role again and see if that works, I think that will be one of the workarounds. But I'll take that offline and I'll pass some information over to Robert if I hear something around that known issue.
They're using an enhanced sales order role.
Okay, so that's a custom role. Yeah, so maybe try that home set preferences, use classic interface setting, just enable that, and then log back in, just obviously sign out and log back in and see if that fixes the issue. Otherwise, as what I've said, I'll take it offline and provide update to Robert.
Perfect. Next question is, are scripted fields available for selection?
Scripted fields. Good question. I'm not 100% sure. Okay, I can't answer that now until I check. but again, another one to take offline. So when you say scripted fields, you've created a custom field, you've added scripting to it, and you want that, because potentially all of the fields, as long as it's in NetSuite, that should be available in the workbook, similar to a save search or report. So any field should be there. So I would think, and I'm assuming, right? I would say it should be available, but let me confirm to make sure.
It's
Okay.
a field created by the script.
Okay. Yeah. I'll double check on that just to make sure. Let me just. I would need to take note of that. So scripted fields. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes. One last question.
Okay.
Does the workbook respect the portlet date setting in the dashboard?
Good question. The answer is no. Because normally what happens is you have your you go to your dashboard, right? And you have that date setting that you can select at the top, just below the personalized dashboard. Unfortunately, it actually doesn't. And so that's one of the things that we are looking into. But at the moment, the answer is no to that.
Because it's all inherent based on the creation
Correct.
of the workbook.
Correct. That is right. Yeah, it follows whatever is the data you've specified on your data set and on your workbook itself.
Okay, perfect. Okay. That was the last question I had.
Okay. Nothing else anymore?
Nope.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. So I have those two to take. I'll take offline. I'll get back to you on those, guys. All right. So just in terms of some known issues, so if you haven't used Analytics Workbook, NetSuite is fully aware of these known issues, and they're actively working on this, obviously, to provide a solution, right? So if you have any ad blocker in your computer, just make sure that you either deactivate those plugins and whitelist NetSuite as an exception. Filter limit is 100,000 records. For me, it's just a huge number of records. I would think that most customers will probably be running less than 100,000. But for some really global companies, for example, just make sure that you limit the number of data set by filtering your result to below 100,000, so you don't get any unexpected error kind of scenario. And then in terms of fields, some of the fields that are available in search, in Save Search, that we are all familiar with, sometimes may not come up exactly the same in Suite Analytics Workbook. And so just try to find that in new transaction line joins, and you'll be able to find those information in there. So just a little bit of a tip as you start, working into it. And then some limitation, pivot tables can only be exported to Excel. So that's the only format that we have at the moment. Exporting pivots to CSV is actually, cannot be exported to Excel. So this is one of the feature lists that we are including as part of 2021.2. So again, disclaimer in here that even though it's in our feature list, we just want to make sure that it is already released before we announce this, but it's already in the list of things that we wanted to include as part of the enhancement. Charts only support SVG, as what I've shown you earlier during the demonstration. Conditional highlighting only works in pivot and workbook tables only. Obviously, chart, you don't highlight anything in charts, right? But it only supports number and numerical values at the moment. So the example I've mentioned earlier, that if you have a customer under, let's say, Will Clark as one of my sales rep, highlight them. We can't do that in workbook as of the moment. There's no scheduling and emailing option. No option to change the colors, as what I've mentioned earlier in the chart view. And then for a full list of known limitations, just go to the Suite Answer ID, 82783, so you can view the list in there. It's currently being updated as well as we go along. So just some references for you. There's already recorded videos available. When you go to your analytics tab, you'll see that at the upper right-hand corner, as you learn about analytics, we have our workbook user guide. So I'm not a fan, obviously, of user guides. It's like 100 pages, for example. I'm not going to go and read that. So obviously, recorded videos does the work for me, but we're all different, right? But we have our online help center, so everyone is familiar with that. And we also have recorded videos in the NetSuite Learning Portal. So if you go through that, you should be able to just, jump in and do it in your own phase. So make things easier for you. And now let's talk about upcoming feature. So NetSuite Analytics Warehouse Beta. So as what I've mentioned, we already have, saved searches, reports, analytics workbook, but NetSuite is continuously being developed. So the application really is being enhanced as we speak. And so one of the upcoming feature that has been announced internally to us is the analytics warehouse beta. So please bear in mind that warehouse does not mean warehouse management. Like when I first heard, I was like, oh, good, warehouse management. But no, it's not. It's more of a data warehouse. Okay, so that's basically what it means. So let me provide you a little bit of background on this. So it's an upcoming analytical reporting tool in NetSuite, probably the newest, apart from the analytics workbook. It will be, it's actually an analytic application solution that allows it to extract information from NetSuite and basically extend it. It combines NetSuite and other information from other applications, so you can run your analytics. So it basically just really extends NetSuite analytics, not just in NetSuite but also external application. And the target release for this is Q2 FY22. So this really made for analytics cloud, autonomous data warehouse, Oracle cloud infrastructure. So really combining the power of NetSuite and Oracle and being able to provide an analytical tool. So what are the common information around this, right? So for Suite Analytics, we know it's really more for managers, operations, CFO maybe. And one of the sample use cases would be, okay, how do we run reports and what is the information they wanted to pull up? It's really more understanding with how the business is doing. And in terms of data sources for Suite Analytics, it's really just NetSuite data only. So you can only run your reports within NetSuite, right? But with this upcoming new feature, the NetSuite Data Warehouse really specifically designed for business analysts to be able to run historical, data analysis. It's really more of combining NetSuite data to external data and then being able to report from there. So it's really, as what I mentioned, is data warehouse, right? Now, one thing to note, these are all the supported data and transaction types. So obviously there's already heaps of them. In terms of data types, we have manufacturing being included soon. So again, as what I mentioned, still in the works, it's still in beta version, lots of testing ongoing at the moment, but these are hopefully something that you can, look into and would be valuable for you as you start using it when it's launched. Some key benefits for the analytics warehouse. So it actually, as what I mentioned, it combines data set, not just from NetSuite, but also from other external sources. So if you have Salesforce or other application, you can combine those information and run visualization for you. And then it also provides you with templates and rich set of visualization, as you can see from here. So we can access all the NetSuite data aggregated for obviously fast computation and delivery. So as what you've experienced probably when you're running save search or a report, sometimes you get report timeouts, and so you are forced to actually kind of just schedule the report. But in the analytics warehouse, obviously that will go away. So I will keep it short and sweet as that. I'm not sure if anyone has any question for me. Anything in the Q&A? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how do we access Analytics Warehouse? Is it standard in NetSuite?
It is actually it's a sold module. It's actually a module that you have to purchase from NetSuite, but it comes with Suite Analytics Connect because that is a prerequisite, and then the Oracle OCE solution as well. So that's an add-on module. I don't have the pricing, unfortunately, as of the moment. That's the only information that we have at hand. But once we go through with the release, and obviously NetSuite will provide more information as we release the product.
Yeah, because it's released in 2022, correct?
Yes, that's correct. That's the target releases. So again, don't take my word for it, please. Disclaimer in there. It's just the product, general product direction. But again, it's it's not a commitment. Okay, so just Perfect. Putting it out there.
Now, next question is there any future scope for analytics to be connected to Tableau or Power BI?
I would say I have read some enhancement around that, so there must be, but again, no commitment. I can't say that yes, it will be part of the next release. I can't say that, but there's definitely lots of enhancement that has been submitted for the Suite Analytics workbook. So that probably is, that's really one of them.
Cool, that was it, really.
Okay.
Any other questions before we keep going? 5 minutes to go.
Yep, I think we're right on time.
Oh wow, look at that. So any more questions before we begin to wrap it up? I hope it was well worth joining.
Mhm.
I know that this is something that is NetSuite's spent a lot of time investing its efforts into, especially in the last few releases, and they're continuing to add more and more functionality in the analytics space. Hence why we thought that this topic today would be a worthwhile one to share with you, especially around those saved searches and being able to connect those saved searches and have visibility on that, which I know a lot of customers are having to export multiple data sets into spreadsheets and then use VLOOKUPs to connect the data. So hopefully showing you how that works today, and it's inherent in the product. There's no additional cost besides setting it up. So, and any questions before we wrap it up? Otherwise, if you do have any, Cheryl will come back to the team. So what we'll do is as part of the sharing of the video, Cheryl will provide the answers to those couple of questions as well. And then we'll share it to all of you. If you have any questions on the solution, please don't hesitate in reaching out. If there's anything you want to work out in relation to, these are the reports that you've got today that you're manually having to massage or having to manually bring together through spreadsheets, and how that potentially could work in Suite Analytics, please reach out. I'm sure we'll be able to find a way, whether it's possible or not, at least get you to a place where you're better off than where you are today. That's for sure. Cool. And there's no other questions from what I can see, Cheryl. Well, I'd just like to personally thank you for your time as well. Appreciate you coming on.
No problem. Thank you.
And then we plan to have another event next quarter. So we have these sessions once every quarter, potentially once every couple of months. And we're bringing new functionalities from NetSuite to the forefront. I think the next one will be around the 2021.2 release, and around the functionalities that are coming out of that, coupled with a demonstration from probably our own beta account that we can show you how those things work, and then bring other solutions that we support and implement as part of the OneCloudX banner. So without any further to do, I will close this out and thank everybody for joining.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.